I drink wine, but I'm definitely not a wine connoisseur. So the weird descriptions on wine labels and the wild things people say they pick up in wine have always thrown me for a loop. Are winemakers infusing their booze with roses and butter and cat pee? Are people just making this stuff up? This is MinuteFood. The good news is that while some people out there are making stuff up, for the most part, these flavors are real. The very same compounds responsible for the distinctive smells of roses and buttered popcorn and cat pee, well, at least compounds a lot like those responsible for cat pee, actually exist in wine. When we pour a glass or take a sip, these super lightweight molecules go airborne, enter our nose and mouth, and get picked up by our olfactory system. You smell them, just as you would a rose. But how do these distinctly ungrapey aromatic compounds get into wine in the first place? Sometimes from the grapes themselves. The skins of certain grapes have small amounts of rotundone, the molecule that makes peppercorns peppery, likely as a defense against hungry herbivores. Other grapes are packed with geraniol and linalool, the main compounds that create the smell of roses, which probably serve to lure pollinators to a grapevine's flowers. A wild grapevine, at least. The grapes used to make wine pollinate themselves, but the machinery is still in there, pumping out those floral aromas. Given that grape plants are plants, it makes sense that they use some of the same tried and true chemical compounds that other plants use. Compounds that, down the line, can end up in wine. Grapes can also contribute compounds to wine that they didn't make themselves. Some wines from Australia have a eucalyptus aroma. Scientists think the compound responsible for the smell of eucalyptus trees wafts out of eucalyptus groves and clings to grapes' skins. And in areas stricken by wildfire, some of the volatiles that make smoke smell smoky can stick to grapes and show up in wine. Then there are aromas that get unleashed during fermentation. As microbes gobble up grapes' sugars and nutrients and metabolize them into smaller and simpler molecules, tiny bits of molecules get snipped off. Freed from their bulky precursors, these new compounds are free to go airborne. This is how sulfur-based compounds reminiscent of sulfur-based cat pee get into your wine, and then your nose. It's also what creates diacetyl, the molecule that produces the buttery aroma of some Chardonnays, and the buttery aroma of movie theater popcorn, which, by the way, just happens to be one of my very favorite things in the entire world. Finally, the aging process also creates some of wine's aromatic molecules. The wood of oak trees contains eugenol, the compound responsible for the spicy smell of cloves, and vanillin. Yes, that vanillin. These compounds can dissolve out of oak barrels and into wine. And any oxygen that comes into contact with wines as they age, like the tiny bit that sneaks in through the cork, can produce the same compound that ripening apples manufacture, creating anything from a lovely fruity smell to the not-so-lovely aroma of rotting apples. I'll admit that even after lots of personal research, I'm still not particularly good at identifying aromas in wine. But knowing that they are legit and where they come from has made me a bit better at noticing them in my glass. And actually in lots of foods, because maybe the most interesting thing about all the surprising aromatic compounds in wine is that they aren't just in wine. Remember those compounds responsible for the smell of roses? Tomatoes, along with lots of other fruits and veggies, produce them too. Bread brews up diacetyl, the buttered popcorn molecule, as it rises. And coffee and chocolate, which can contain almost as many aromatic compounds as wine, are loaded with all sorts of aromas you might recognize from other stuff. Now, when I catch a whiff of flowers from my tomato sauce or smoke from a cup of coffee, I'm reminded of how interconnected different foods and processes in the kitchen really are. Just please, keep the cat pee out of there. I am so lucky that I get to make a living thinking about food. But I'm also really lucky that I have enough food to eat in the first place. So I'm thrilled that Tab for a Cause, an awesome browser extension I've used for a while, is featuring Action Against Hunger, an organization working to prevent malnutrition. With this new campaign, each tab I open, and I open a lot of tabs, helped provide emergency nutrition to people all around the world. To date, Tabbers have raised more than $1 million for nonprofits like Action Against Hunger just by browsing the web. Download the extension and help end hunger around the world at the link on screen and in the description below.